go. And then the lack of confidence, the self-defense, the how do I draw my boundaries, like mashallah in the previous episode, how we heard about you and, you know, you're up there with your boundaries. So that is, it's not entirely impossible, but you've just, as a parent, you've got to pick up on all of those roles, not just the teacher looking at your child, getting the homeschool with the curriculum. You've got to do everything else what the school was doing for you. But yes, again, homeschooling does have its advantages where you have this sense of security, where you know my child is in front of my eyes. My child is not going to be bullied. My child will not be harmed. So again, like how you've seen children who were homeschooled, I've seen so many back home in Dubai, as well as Pakistan. And subhanAllah, the children picked it up very well. And now, you know, they're doctors, they're pharmacists, they're engineers. So again, it comes to how your child is picking up all of that. And as a parent, how you are helping your child pursue that career, that whole curriculum at home, and making them a good individual at the end of the day.
So I like how you were talking about homeschooling, but if we change roles a little bit, in public school, there's a big worry about peer pressure. So they're definitely in the impressionable age during middle school. So how do we combat peer pressure? How do you as a parent address that with your child, what they should do in the face of peer pressure?
It's a very, very skeptical question, because we have so many viewpoints. We have so many ideas. We have so many ways to bring up what must be done and what mustn't. So in terms of peer pressure, since, for example, my daughter Ilham, since she started school, I would always tell her, look, you're going to meet lots of different people, if they're not necessarily Pakistani or Indian or whatever it is. There'll be lots of multicultural, multinationalities. They're all going to study with you. It's not necessary that they will be Muslim. It is okay. The first thing that you must tell your child is respect the other person who is in your class. Apart from respecting your teacher, respect your fellow class student. If it's a boy, if it's a girl, it is fine. We're all equal. Let's not bring into the, don't speak to the boys, only sit with the girls. No, subhanAllah, the world is moving so fast. We've got to tell our children how to be confident, how to behave with the opposite gender. You've got to mold them in such a way where they don't feel like it's this big embarrassment speaking to a boy or a boy speaking to a girl. Let's just normalize that. And once you've made them understand the level of respect, what they must do and receive, then you start telling them that, look, I understand. There's going to be lots of children who might get a new handbag, school bag, backpack every other day, once a month, twice a year. Do not compare it to what you are taking from your house, because remember, your house is the main school before the child ends up coming to all of these phases of life. So when your school at home, your foundation is so strong, none of these little buildings will allow your child to break, because you know that you've done your best and you've believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the foundation. Your child is so confident in what you've taught him or her. So you've got to keep reminding. Again, it goes back to the word communication. The more you talk to your child, the more you keep reminding your child that this is our deen, this is our dunya, we're doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, it is not wrong to have friends. Have friends. Do not stop. Do not categorize the level of friends your child must have, the level of talks your child must have. Always have an understanding with your child, where your child can easily come up to you and say, Mum, you know, the other day, a girl walked up to me, she said so-and-so. Or there was a boy who said so-and-so. It's okay. Let's not get confused. Let's not panic that, oh my God, someone just said this to my child. So this is what we've got to understand. Communicate, calm down, listen.
That's very important, yes, and we'll definitely go into that. As you said, there's children of every gender, women and men, children, girls and boys, I meant to say. But we'll definitely talk about boundaries when we get to the high school age, about free mixing,
absolutely.
especially in our religion. So we'll definitely talk about that later. The last thing I definitely want to talk about is what we should do when a child is in middle school and they're unable to go and have good influences. Where do they find these good influences? Because, you know, friend groups, they have multiple friend groups everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And we were talking about that, like in middle school, you were saying if we need to move them from one school to the other,
yes.
They shouldn't worry about their friends. But once they have created their group of friends, what if there's a bad influence and there's not a bad seed, but a bad influence in that group of friends? How do we tell our child, don't follow exactly what that person's doing? Yes, you can be friends with them within school, but outside of school, stay away from that person.
Again, it comes down to communication. So because you can't stop this, it's a peer pressure. It's, the more the merrier. Our gang's the biggest. We've got 10 friends. We've got 20 friends. There's a competition amongst these children because they're so excited. They're, apart from learning from their teachers, they're learning from kids. You know, that's where all the influence comes in. So as a mother and a father, you've got to sit down and tell your child, because you will notice if the child has started following another peer at school, because that child will start speaking about that individual so much. You're going to have a little setback that, aren't you talking about so-and-so quite often? You will know. You've got to be very smart. Again, keep your eyes and ears open. SubhanAllah, Allah's given us this sixth sense in our hearts where we know something's wrong with our child. So if a child does keep saying, you know, I've got so-and-so, he or she, they have a mobile, they have an Xbox, they have a PS, God knows they have so many. In my times, they just had an old Sega. So listen, but when it comes to correcting them, all you can say is, I understand, but you do not have to be either one of them, because you are special the way you are. My father and I, or my mother and I, your mother and I, we are proud of the way you are as a human being, as a sister or a brother, or as our own son and daughter if they don't have siblings. But we are proud of the person that you are. It doesn't matter what the other child says or what the other peer person wants from you. Do not forget that you are special in your own way. The child will continue coming to say, but, if, why. Allow the buts and ifs and whys to come. Allow that, because the more you keep talking about this, the more the child will stop having this impact on his head, in his brain. And subhanAllah, it slowly starts detoxing itself. So you've got to remind your child that I understand you have a friend who's good in arts, but I love the art you do. I love the handwriting you do. Your daddy loves the way you speak. Always uplift your child's motivation, their self-esteem. And this is how you can overcome the problem without having to go through the whole tantrums and the crying and the fits going on which we face nowadays.
Definitely. So this is a good segue into our next topic, which is high school, because once again, yes, the ages 0 to 10 is a big development in their children, in the child's life. But once they get into middle school, that's just the first step into adulthood. Preteens, teenagers, young adult, and then adulthood. So definitely we will talk about that next time in the high school age range, you know, from 13. When they get into teenager age, basically.
Absolutely.
So there's going to be a lot we're going to talk about that. And so
there is, yes.
I'm glad that we got to talk about the middle school age today. And I was so happy having you here again today.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for having us again with the Light TV.
We'll be back soon, like Esha said, and inshallah we will speak a little more about the children, the high schools, and especially how can a parent be his or her own child's best friend.
Right.
So we'll see you next week then.
Thank you.
Khuda Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.